become a fly fishing addict in the past couple of years, so this is a great opportunity to learn more about the sport and meet people who also enjoy fly fishing.
I didn't have expectations like this. This camp is socially fun and we have a lot of freedom on our downtime to tie flies and fish off the dock when we want to.
I have been fishing, but not fly fishing. My grandpa knows one of the instructors at this camp who told him about this camp, and I wanted to learn how to fly fish.
I've been fishing, since I was about 4 years old, and I've always wanted to try fly fishing, so I heard about it and came. I just kind of expected to learn fly fishing, and I'd heard a description somewhere, so yeah, it's pretty much exactly what I expected.
A lot of my family members were guides here and it was recommended to me, so I decided I would try it out. I expected to have fun and learn how to fish.
I found out about this camp because one of my teachers is one of the counselors here and he told me I should do it. So I said, sure, it's worthwhile.
I found out about this camp through my grandfather. He had done a little bit of fly fishing over the years and he thought I might be interested, and I was.
Drew Price, our paraeducator teacher, he introduced it to one of my close friends that also came to the camp, and he told me, and we got a teacher recommendation, and here I am. I didn't have much expectations, but the ones that I did, it definitely fulfilled.
My dad actually found out about it through a friend who's an instructor here. I knew that it was for fly fishing, but I didn't know exactly how to fly fish before, so I came more or less to learn how to fish better.
I wanted to get a little bit more into fly fishing, so I was just looking around with my parents online for some camps.
I thought we would be doing a lot of hard work and fishing and doing a lot of stuff with the environment.
Definitely my uncle just kind of going through. It was actually a birthday present to me from him. All my expectations were definitely filled. I really wanted to fish, learn way more about fly fishing than I knew, and really learn how to tie flies and get it all done and tie knots and everything, and I really just wanted to come here.
I had Mr. Ames as my 5th grade teacher, and he's a counselor here. I thought I'd learn a lot, and I did, and I thought I'd learn how to tie a lot of flies, and I thought it'd be really fun, and it was. It met all my expectations and exceeded them.
We have a phenomenal group of adults that have volunteered their time to come and spend with you guys this week at Trout Camp.
Everybody's going to get a chest pack.
We got a bag with a bunch of flies, a fly case, some leaders, a leader wallet, tippet line, and some of that, some weights and some strike indicators.
They gave us a bag like this, a bunch of tools, a bunch of flies. They gave us leaders and all the supplies that we need except for a rod and a reel, but they supplied a rod and a reel for us on the trip.
We got an entire Orvis fly fishing chest pack, which was very nice. We got a bunch of flies, a very nice fly box, some leaders, some handy little tools like snippers for the line, and we even got to use some of the camp poles, which was nice, so you don't have to bring your own.
They gave me a pack, some leader, some flies, a fly case, a lot of floating and dry fly stuff.
There's a sheet with information on it. There is a nail knot that can be used, and there's also a nail-less nail knot that can be used to attach your leader to your fly line.
I already had some knots that I tied, that I found I liked, and found out the ones that I tied were ones that other people like to tie too. I mean, the no-name knot was one that a lot of people use the improved clinch, but I use the no-name. And a lot of these guys here seem to like that one better, just like me. So, and then the blood knot, I had no idea how to tie, and now I'm starting to get the hang of it. so you just use the double surgeon's lure.
I did pretty good, although I had no idea of any of them whatsoever.
What sort of knots were they trying to teach you?
The blood knot and the no-name knot.
Have you used them?
Yes.
When you think you have the knot, I'll give you a monofilament to try. The huge difference between fly fishing and fly casting and all other forms of fishing is the fact that you're casting the line because the fly is weightless. And what you want to remember to do is always, you want to cast the straightest line that you possibly can. You don't want to have a pile or a wavy line, because then you don't have any connection to the fly.
They teach you a lot about the actual arm movement part. You're not supposed to flick your wrist as much. It's not as much wrist movement as it is forearm movement. So that really gets the power into it, as well as stopping at the correct height, at the correct way forward and way back. So
I really enjoyed casting because we each had someone to help us improve or learn how to cast, and after that we got to fish. They taught us a normal cast if you were unfamiliar, and they also taught us a roll cast, which can be useful during certain circumstances. With the roll cast, I wasn't as good. The roll cast was kind of challenging to me, but it seemed to get on better with others.
To get the fly moving towards you, moving towards you, moving towards you, until your rod tip is in that 10 o'clock position, and then you roll forward. You make that snap motion forward.
They kind of, taught us, the textbook ways, 10 and 2, and how to let it go back far enough before you cast forward again. The regular cast and the roll cast, false casting. It took me a while to figure it out, but I've pretty much got it now.
I actually learned quite a bit of new stuff because you're one-on-one, so it doesn't matter where you are. They can help you get even further and better at your casting no matter where you are, because you can always improve.
Tried to teach me how to cast and what you do, and I started to get it, but it took me a little while. Not moving my wrist. A roll cast, a side cast, and an overhand cast. Now I can cast and I can fish, so that's definitely a huge improvement. So.
I learned I had to, I couldn't I was going too far and falling through a lot too much. I kind of have to make a quick, like this.
It was hard, and then it was more hard. But I did it eventually.
There, I was more or less horrible because I had never fly fished a day in my life before. But I caught on quick.
Going right back through, getting the casting back, flicking it back, keeping my wrist still, definitely. Just getting it all back into my line that I learned so long ago.
On my forecast, I think it was Alan who told me, my arm kind of just comes slowly down instead of coming to a complete stop. So, and I noticed that was definitely a habit that I took on. So, starting to try to improve on that a bit more.
I had no clue what really to do because I never actually did it in a pond. And so it was just really hard and difficult to start, but once you get it, you can just keep going and going. It was just keeping my arms still and not keeping the rod next to my hand. Yeah, I got it. I'm now much better than I was when I started.
Fly casting, I wasn't very good at it to begin with, but eventually I got the hang of it. I found using your wrist, I use that too much and you have to keep it straight. So I eventually got better at that.
It was hard at first, and I feel like it takes a lifelong time to master it, but that's what fishing is for. And yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble with the forward and backwards cast, which just getting the timing right.
This one you can't really see any gills on, some of them you will. The relative length of the tail might tell you something about this particular bug, but the thing about stoneflies is pretty much a stonefly is a stonefly is a stonefly.
He talked about aquatic entomology and all the different bugs that live in the stream and where they live and how they live and their behavior and how to tell the different ones and how to match them with different flies.
Entomology I find really fascinating. It's definitely important to see what a trout's eating.
I remember where bugs are and when they're there, so I can figure out what kind of flies I would want to use depending where I am.
Oh, I remember that there's 4 different groups of aquatic bugs, and there's an acronym POET for each of them. I don't remember the scientific name, but there's caddisfly, mayfly, stonefly, and dragon and damselflies.
That there's different types. They're benthic macroinvertebrates. It means big bottom-dwelling spineless insects, and they're mostly the larval form. And there's like caddisflies, stoneflies, mayflies, scuds, and several other types. And they all feed on different things and are indicators of different types of water and health of the stream.
Well, I remember some stuff about the different types of flies and how you can mimic them.
That was really cool, seeing all the bugs and seeing how he had replicated some of the flies, some of the bugs that he did in flies, and seeing all how they have not tails, and that some are 6-legged and all that.
All bugs have their own personalities and their many different personalities and the ways they look and the ways they come off the water and hatch and lay eggs and their lifespan and all of that, about the many different kinds of bugs.
It was really cool. I learned about all these bugs. Some of them I had never heard of, and the ones that I had heard of, I never really knew that they had that many habits and people actually studied them. I never really knew that.
It was very interesting. It's going to help us in the field of what we know to use with bugs and how to observe our surroundings to choose a fly.
Well, I learned a lot about flies, and I didn't really know about most of those flies, that they're real. And I didn't know they started out underwater and stuff. So I learned a lot from his PowerPoint.
He just taught us about what the different nymphs looked like and what the flies looked like. And I think he talked about when they hatched and all sorts of different stuff.
I thought it was very, very interesting, and I thought all the little flies that we create and that he showed us looked a lot like it in the water, so that was pretty cool.
Can be in slightly slower water because you see these white fluffy things right there, those are its gills. And they're shuffling things up. You'll see some guys who do seine nets, and they'll get one guy downstream and the other guy's in the river, and he's just stirring up all the stones that he possibly can and making a big mess. And they've just destroyed that piece of habitat.
So we went into the stream, we had some nets that we put down, we brushed off rocks and tried to catch them. Then when we caught them, we put them in a little tray to inspect them and then let them back out.
We went to the stream and we had to pick up rocks and rub them off, and they would float into nets and we'd see what we'd catch.
We set up a net and we flipped over rocks and brushed them off, and we had all the debris go into the net so we could pick it up and look at it and see if we found any bugs or anything like that. And we also picked up rocks and looked under them manually. We found almost every single kind of bug he mentioned. We found most of them. A lot of mayflies and some really big, I forget what they're called, but some really big bugs too.
Well, we found lots of different insects, and like some of them made their little house out of sticks or stones, which was really interesting. And then there were some really big ones that you wouldn't expect to find. We picked up rocks in a stream near a current, and we'd wipe off of the rocks and watch all the little bugs go right into our net. I don't know what the net's called. And you'd pick it up and you'd spot the little bugs, and it was pretty cool.
We took seine nets and we wrestled up the rocks and we tried to find lots of caddisflies and stuff, and we did. We found some racophylla, some swimmer nymphs, some clinging nymphs. We found a lot of stuff.
Me and Griffin got lucky because we were working together and we got a ton of a variety of bugs that a lot of them I'd never seen before. And Tom helped us find out what type of bugs they were and what their role was.
We had Tom identify them for us, and we found a lot of bugs, dragonfly nymphs, stonefly nymphs, and a lot of unfamiliar bugs that I haven't seen and wouldn't expect to be in the river. And at first I didn't really think it was going to be that fun, but when we started getting the bugs in our pen, it became interesting.
We found caddises, stoneflies, found some worms.
We found stoneflies, different types of caddisflies, and different types of shells.
I was surprised how many insects we found, and it's just really cool seeing all of them.
We had different environments on the same stream, just maybe within 100 yards of each other. And you had one area that had a different group of species more fit for that environment versus the other one, the slow water versus fast water.
Fly fishing is basically divided into surface fishing and subsurface fishing. We started eons ago. It really has only been in the last couple of 100 years that people have been dry fly fishing. So the oldest, most traditional methods have been for subsurface fishing.
With dry flies, just keep it on the top of the water and kind of point your rod tip with it and just kind of go along with it. And with the streamers, kind of strip in a little bit of line every now and then just to kind of make it move and make it look like it's actually alive and going across the water and underwater.
It was a little difficult at first. We're still learning how to cast, read water where the fish would be. Overall, it was a little rough.
You see me do that right there? I'm lifting the line and I'm moving it over. Lifting the line, moving it over. This is called mending. Mending can be really important for a lot of different things. I think it's really important for streamer fishing.
He showed us mending, which is just, you know, correcting, I suppose, the line of your rod in the water when it gets curled up. There's nymphing. Different techniques go with different flies, so yeah.
I learned a new technique, mending, on dry fly drift, trying to make a dragless drift. It was really useful. I got a lot of strikes.
I'd never been to Connecticut, and I don't fish big rivers a lot. I fish a lot, probably a third of that size, so that was a new experience for me, and I've never fished rivers that big, but it can be a little overwhelming trying to find where the fish are.
There's the eye of the hook, which is how you attach it to your line. There's the shank of the hook. There's the bend, or sometimes they call it the shape of the hook. And then there's the point of the hook, and there's a barb and a point of the barb.
Fly tying is probably my second favorite thing other than fly fishing. And because it's pretty cool to just wrap it around and see how you can create something that just looks in the water like it's a perfect bug, just like in nature, and the fish definitely love those too. I tied, I wasn't that good at it at first, but I tied a couple woolly buggers, and I think I tied a caddisfly pupa, and yeah.
I actually had a little bit of experience tying flies before camp, but not much. It's difficult, but and again, like most other things about fly tying, you get to learn how to do it and you master it after time. I tied a little egg, like a salmon egg, and one that looks like a caddisfly emerger.
I'd never really done any fly tying before, so it was all really new to me. But Drew showed me how to tie the woolly bugger, which was a lot of fun. Now I have it, so I'm gonna try and get a little bit more into fly tying when I get home, because this kind of showed me that you don't really have to go and buy flies every time. So.
Well, I tied a green insect larva, a trout egg, a beetle, and just a caddisfly, although I have lost about 50% of those, and some more which came in the original kit we got, so I really need to make more.
Fly tying was a lot of fun. I never tied a fly before, but we had pretty good instructors, and I tied a woolly bugger, and I was really proud of myself, so I continued doing it for the rest of the trip.
I found fly tying really interesting and fun, and it takes a lot of practice to do some flies. And once you get into it, it's really hard to stop.
Alan showed us how to tie an egg first, and then other people taught us different flies, and we just kept going. And it's really fun.
I thought it was fun. It was kind of hard because it's so small, but I really did like fly tying.
At the end, I just sort of improvised and tried to come up with my own patterns that might work.
I loved it. I know I'd done a little bit before I came, and when I came and I saw all the different flies we had tied, the eggs were really fun and the worms.
I've always been probably not the best tyer, but this definitely helped me, and I tied about 3 or 4 flies just that were actually much better than I ever really thought I could. And just kind of going through step by step with the counselors and just kind of twisting it around that hook. It was a lot of fun, and I just learned a lot trying to get it through there, and I think I'm definitely going to go home and buy myself a little kit to use.
I tied a lot of flies at this camp. I learned a lot of different techniques, especially like pupa and soft tackle techniques. I learned some different nymphing things that I hadn't known before, and it was really helpful to learn more about fly tying. My flies are looking a lot better now.
Wood in the stream down through there, those are wood additions that we did a couple years ago. We're trying to increase the roughness, get it to hold back some sediments, and try to provide a little cover. Now, of course, the river's very, very low. We're in really low stage of the river right now, so it's not a very big river, as you can see.
I didn't really know earlier that people did conservation like that in areas. I mean, I didn't know their whole jobs around that. So he kind of started out by telling us about what he did in his job, and that was interesting. And I thought it was cool how he was saying how they kind of brought back streams and made them a lot healthier.
So they're removing some of the old culverts, which were kind of damaged from the weight of the bridges and I guess cars going by over time that they built back in the day, and so they took those out. I forget if they're replacing some of them or not, but we built that new bridge, which is great, very nice, and planting some trees around the bank to stabilize the soil to prevent erosion. Putting boulders in the stream to create pockets and kind of direct the current of the stream to a more narrow length, and also let it meander more for some of the logging roads and everything. That dam that they built in the 1800s for the old logging flumes was, they're working on that to kind of undo that and make it a more suitable environment for the trout. So there's a lot of things, and it was fascinating.
That stuff was fun, like seeing how they would improve, like moving a culvert and then putting the bridge in to help the stream flow better and to help fish get through. And seeing how the banks were actually kind of look natural minus the trees and bushes.
They were restoring streams that had been hit by a storm, trying to create more environments, better environments for trout due to damage by the loggers.
I thought it was interesting that they recreated the environment that was destroyed in the Industrial Revolution. And the way they did it, and they had the logs go across the river, which created pools. I thought it was very interesting.
I think we're really fortunate here in the state of Vermont to have probably, I think there are only 3 fly fishing museums, maybe 4 fly fishing museums in the country. But we're the largest, and we have the largest collection, and we also deal with all things fly fishing.
I had a practice with a bamboo rod when Kathy brought us some rods and reels from her museum, and it was really cool casting a bamboo rod because I flung my fly way farther than I could do with my rod.
Yeah, I did a couple with the bamboo and the fiberglass, and they were really easy to, they were really light, but you had to wait longer on the back.
I did all of them, bamboo, graphite, and fiberglass. With a bamboo, it's really slow, and you have to wait a while for it to bend back. And the fiberglass is still pretty slow, a lot slower than graphite.
tried using one of the bamboo rods. It was really different because it has a lot more bend in it.
Yeah, I tried a bamboo rod, fiberglass, as well as an old graphite rod, and it's definitely a lot different. The bamboo rod is a lot more flexible, as well as the fiberglass rod, so it was very cool getting to try the different kinds of rods out.
I really liked those old bamboo rods. I've never really casted a bamboo rod before. I really liked the fiberglass rods. It was really cool to see the old materials and really appreciate what we have now.
A little bit about fisheries biology, fisheries management, what that's about, why it's important, and then some more detail about one particular technique which we use to do our fisheries management work, and that's electric fishing.
There was a fish and wildlife warden who came out, and he'd have on a backpack with like a 12-volt battery, and then something which would allow him to control it. And then there was two parts to it. One was a metal rod he would hold, and the other just sort of trailed behind him. So when he put it in, it made a circuit that made a fish, and it was going on and off, on and off. So fish would kind of swim towards it. And then you would scoop them up in a net and put them in a bucket and take a survey. We did that at 2 spots, and then after we dissected one of the fish.
It was fun because we got to pick up fish that were stunned. The only downside is if you get your hand or anything in the water, it goes numb for a little bit. Like my entire right arm went numb momentarily.
We took like this zapper, and it was pretty cool because the zapper, electric, it tensed up the fish, so then they'd come to the surface because of their swim bladder. And then we'd grab them in nets and put them in a bucket, but it wouldn't kill them. None of the fish actually died. We'd be able to revive them and put them, and they'd be fine. We could just put them right back in the stream. And that was really cool because he pointed out where we got more fish, and showed us like where more fish were holding, and like the key characteristics that made the trout different from each other.
I think that was probably my favorite part of camp. He showed us how to electrofish. When the fish get near the rod, their muscles sort of tense up, and that makes it easier for you to catch the fish in the nets. Then we looked at them and identified them. We saw some brook trout, some brown trout, some interesting fish.
That was the coolest thing I think we did. We caught brown trout, brook trout, and I don't remember what the other species was called, but they were a bit smaller, and they'd swim and they'd go on their side when they were in the bucket, and it was really cool.
It was really interesting and really helpful to know like where the fish were, and helpful if you're actually trying to like find fish in the stream, like to see where they were hiding, like in riffles and pocket water. It was really nice.
And then we dissected one of them and really studied the anatomy of the fish. So I learned a lot about that.
That was pretty cool because there's a full worm inside the stomach, and we pulled out an entire worm out of the fish's mouth. Yeah, the dissection was very different. I've never opened up a fish before, really.
Definitely the dissection was pretty cool. So, you know, the insides of a fish.
And then when he dissected the fish, that was just really cool, seeing how, like, what was inside them and how there was a giant worm in it.
I thought that was pretty cool. We really got to see what they were eating. It was eating worms because it was raining really hard, and it was eating some different little caddises. That's really helpful when your time flies.
Did catch a fish, yeah, a river trout.
Okay, and what did you have to do when you...
I had to run a lap around the pond with a Princess Fairy wand.
I got experience that will actually be really helpful in the future when I start fly fishing more. And also I know now not stuff that I shouldn't do while fishing.
All these guys volunteer their time. They could be out fishing themselves and everything, guys like you and everything. And, I'm really grateful for it. You don't get people who always approach you on this kind of stuff. I know when I first started, I took it up all on my own, and I taught myself how to cast and all that stuff. But coming here, it's great. I'm really thankful for all the guys who come out and do this, because it really means a lot for someone like me learning.
Well, I think it's been really good and informative, and I'll leave with all the know-how to continue fly fishing.
I'm just gonna go away knowing that I'll have more confidence on streams. Like now I know I actually can catch trout on wild streams, and I'll have some tips on nymphing. Like I wasn't very good at nymphing before I came here, but now I'm a lot better at it.
Overall fishing experience, I've been the unlucky one out of this whole trip. I haven't caught a single trout yet, but everyone else has. I don't know what happened, but still enjoying myself out here despite the lack of fish on my part.
Becoming a better fly fisherman, and well, I want to do more of this stuff.
It was really fun. I really liked it. I definitely want to come again next year. I liked being able to go out on the boats and fish over the lake. So
Catch the fish?
I caught a little chub. It's pretty funny. It was my first fish.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
Well, I had a great time. Learned a lot, got some fish.
You know, great. I had a great time here. I learned a lot of good skills that I can really go home and practice. And yeah, it was a great experience. I'm glad I came.
I thought it was really good. I caught a lot of fish. I caught some steelhead. That was really fun. And I learned a lot of different fishing techniques. It was really helpful.
Pretty good. I didn't catch any fish until one day, and I got 4 fish that day. It was on the Connecticut River. I caught a 4-inch brook trout. That was my first fish on a fly. And then I caught 2 13 or 12-inch fall fish. And then I caught, I think it was a 14-inch, maybe it was a 13-inch rainbow trout. So,
caught a couple of fish, had a lot of fun, and I learned a ton about that I never thought I could have learned, and it'll definitely help me out when I want to do this again, fishing again with fly fishing.